All right, so we're officially rolling now, and I would like to welcome you, my friends, to the second garlic marketing class presented by the Minnesota Premium Garlic Project on, well, marketing garlic in Minnesota and the upper Midwest. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. I'm Jerry Ford. I'm the director of the project. So we're going to do this just so rapid fire. It's going to be three 20-minute segments on first on sales direct to distributors, and then an aggregation model, and then people who are selling directly to stores without using a middleman distributor. And those are going to be 20 minutes each. And then we're going to, and by the way, Greg, I'll time you and you time me, okay? And give 5-minute warnings and that sort of thing. And then in the last 30 minutes of the class, we're going to hit the Q&A. Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Greg.
Hey, hello, everybody. We're going to start off with a little segment where we'll talk to Les Olson from Big Stone Garlic out in the little nub of Minnesota in Big Stone County, and then Melissa Driscoll from Seven Songs Organic Farm in Kenyon, Minnesota, out at it's just southeast of the metro in Goodhue County. But before we do that, I was going to provide a little bit of a background on this backhaul project that my organization, the Regional Partnerships, has worked on in order to provide some context for what Les might talk about, and just to give an idea of some of the work that we're doing in an extension. Let me see if I can share my screen here real quick. Can you all see my slides?
Yep.
All right, great, thanks. So just real quick, we had this concept of an idea. We know that in other industries, backhauling is a fairly standard practice where a truck will go and deliver a load from one part of the country to the other, and then pick up a load and then haul it back to where they came from. So we got a USDA grant a few years back to see if we could make something like this work for garlic and for agriculture in general. We started with examining garlic because it's, you know, a crop that has a potentially high value. It stores for a long time. So we were concerned about using existing infrastructure, and we used a local grocery store in Clinton, Minnesota, near Les as a cross-docking location, which allowed the distributor in Wadena to come and drop off a load of food at the grocery store and then pick up Les's garlic and bring it on back to Wadena at the wholesale. The point of this, some of the players here were Big Stone Garlic, but we worked with Bonnie's Hometown Grocery in Clinton and Mason Brothers and Russ Davis, distributors in Wadena. So we're really just looking to examine a potential opportunity that we might look at for building our local food systems and supply chains. That if this worked, it was sort of a shot in the dark, but if it was a slam dunk and it worked, we could apply this to potentially, you know, like apples or carrots or any other local product, and reconsider and rethink about the ways that we supply local foods to the larger system beyond just farmers markets and CSAs and things like that. So Les was a partner in that project, and he'll be talking a little bit about that, I think. So just wanted to make sure you were all aware of that. Another thing that I think is important when we think about that is just as a demonstration that if you are creative and are able to talk with your contacts and people you know, there are some seemingly endless opportunities, potentially endless opportunities to sell your garlic and new ways to do it. And they might work, they might not. And hopefully we'll hear a little bit more about that. Let's see if I can stop sharing. There we go. Great. So right now we'll switch to sort of a talk show format, and I will pull up Les and Melissa. I don't know if I can figure out how to get you on top, but maybe everybody can see you when you start talking. But so as I mentioned, Les Olson, Big Stone Garlic in Big Stone County, Minnesota, selling growing on a small handful of acres, which is sort of large for garlic, and distributing through various channels. And Melissa Driscoll, who's well known for her ginger, but also does a great job growing and marketing garlic in Kenyon, Minnesota. So if I can ask the two of you, can you tell me a little bit about your wholesale customers and who they are?
Well, for ours, our only foray into the wholesale market was with the backhauling project. The first year was with Russ Davis. And then the second year, Mason Brothers, who was part of the Russ Davis experiment the first year, came back on their own and wanted to try it again. So that's been our only venture so far into the wholesale market.
Great. And Melissa?
Yeah, so my venture into wholesale is actually with my garlic Scape Pesto, and I'm selling to Co-op Partners Warehouse. And, I used to take my pesto around to different stores, and now mostly what I do is, I'll take 20 cases or 30 cases to Co-op Partners Warehouse, and then they're distributing it on their trucks to all the co-ops in the upper Midwest, whoever wants to order it. And yes, I'm getting less per jar, but it's not worth it for me to drive up to Bemidji to bring 1 case of pesto. And yet there's already trucks going all over doing that, right? So for me, it's really worth it to get it into a distributorship. And I was lucky that I asked this distributor and they said yes right off the bat. And it's a frozen product, so it needs to be kept frozen, which is kind of a pain in the butt. And they're doing it for me, right? I have some of it here that I haven't sold to them, but they buy a number of cases at a time. So I really like that.
And a little related to that, how did you all initiate the relationships with your distributors? Do you have any stories around that?
I can go. So I used to work at a food co-op, and I'm kind of aware of the food co-op world. And so I know about Co-op Partners Warehouse and kind of how it got started and some of the people that work there. And I have been ordering ingredients from them for the pesto. And so I reached back to them to say, well, I order ingredients from you. Do you want to carry the final product? So it was already pretty popular at Lake Winds. And so I already said, well, there's a couple co-ops who will be customers right off the bat through you. And I think that helped them a little bit, that I'd already been selling it myself. Yeah.
Got it. Les, do you have any?
Well, the only thing it was, I heard about the backhauling project through Kathy Drager, the director of Regional Partnership. And she's married to my cousin, but she's also been a customer of ours since the first year. And she would always come over and want to help with the garlic. And she just, we always would talk about new avenues for sales. And so it was a very easy fit for us to get involved. I should say to find it. It wasn't easy the first year, but it was easy to find the backhaul project.
So are there any distributors that you used to sell to but no longer do, and why is that?
Well, we sold to Russ Davis the first year and Mason Brothers the second year, and neither one has followed up with that after their first year. Both of them ended up with garlic left over. The first year was, we sold it to Russ Davis on consignment, and we got about 40% of it back that we bagged and cased up, and we got that back, and then we had to figure out a way to sell that at the end of the season, which was very unfortunate. We didn't do real good with that. And then the second year with Mason Brothers, they went and just bought it all up front. And so they unfortunately got stuck with a lot that they didn't sell. So we haven't had any repeat customers in the wholesale side yet. not to say it won't happen. I mean, I'm not going to give up on it.
Mhm.
And Melissa, do you have anything that
Um,
any distributors that you used to sell to but broke off the relationship for whatever reason?
no, I don't. I don't. I have other stories of like selling to a restaurant for a number of years and then them dropping me right after I harvested all of their garlic. But that's not a distributor. That's just a single restaurant.
Mhm.
That was before I sold on contract, and now I'm really selling on contract garlic, so that right now I know that all of next year's garlic is sold. And I
So
love
is
that.
that an annual contract then?
Yep, I do annual contracts, and it's a simple contract. It's not long. It's like 2 pages. It's not a big, huge legal thing, but it gives me some certainty, and we work through some details ahead of time, like price and amount. And I think then I feel like I'm just taking that garlic to its home. Like it already has a home. I'm not like kind of going to be hanging in the wind with a bunch of garlic, which has happened to me before.
Mhm.
So I like having a contract.
All right. Hey, Les, I'm wondering if you know why the garlic didn't sell. Do you have any insight into that, and maybe any ways that it might be done different next time?
Well, the first year, both of them, we knew how to get it there and everything we had to do to get it to the wholesaler. But the wholesaler didn't really have a good plan on how to get it to the grocery store, other than their normal plan of how they would sell. And because of the price point we were at, we were a higher price point than what they could sell it for most places. There were some grocery stores that liked it, but for the most part, we were just at too high a price point, and we hadn't done the education in advance to get them ready for what it would come in at, for what it would take for their side to support what they needed for support. We scrambled both years trying to come up with what they needed as far as signage, the bags, the cases, the boxes, everything, trying to get it for what they would use. But we were always behind the 8 ball, so to speak. We didn't know what we needed to know in advance.
Yeah, so it sounds like maybe promotion is still an issue, even though you might be able to sell the garlic all up front to keep it up. You might still need to do, or not just you, but anybody doing wholesale might still need to think about promotion and selling the product and differentiating it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Greg, this is Jerry. You've got 5 minutes.
All right. Well, I'll take a couple of the things I see on the side. Any nuances in the contract regarding garlic size, expectations in cleaning, data availability, and all of that? Oh, I see.
It really varies. The cleaning both was very. They had to be very clean, but you have to know what the expectations are of your end customers. Mostly with Russ Davis, they were thinking about their expectations needed to look like the little packages of garlic that people would buy, where there'd be 3 bulbs in a little package from China, and they wanted to compete against that. So we needed to have the QRN codes, we needed to have the UPC symbols, all the fancy bags, and very very nice looking product. And then Mason Brothers this following year, it was clean, but they wanted to sell it in bulk. They saw it as a way to make it in bulk, which that was so much easier without all the bagging process. We had probably less than half the labor in the second year for more garlic that we sold. So it was the labor on the cleaning part and the bagging and the packaging that really takes the profit away in a hurry.
All right. There's a question here I think that's important, Melissa, for you to maybe cover, just to clarify. But are you under the cottage food law to sell products with ingredients on your own farm, or how would you be doing that? It's not a cottage food process I don't think that you're
Okay.
doing right.
So my garlic scape pesto, I have to make it at a commercial kitchen because it's raw garlic scapes in oil. And anything that's raw garlic in oil, you can't make it at home and sell it. So I rent the local VFW kitchen. I have kind of regular people I hire. I really do this just like 2 to 4 production days a year. I do it in the summer when the scapes are, like right after June, like end of June or beginning of July, when the scapes are in really good shape after I've harvested them. I have almost all organic ingredients. We created our own jarring mechanism because putting it in the jar was that was the most challenging part of it. But we have our own labels, our own jars, and we had to we got it tested by a food testing company to know how long it's good, like either good refrigerated or good frozen. There's a fair amount that goes into it. I have to get, food manager certification every 3 years. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of things.
All right, I think I've maybe time for one more question. I want to ask, so typically wholesalers, when you sell something wholesale, you're not going to make as much money as if you sell it direct at the farmer's market. So what about that arrangement makes it work? How is wholesaling an important part of your marketing mix, and how do you make that work by not making as much money per unit?
Well, with the packaging, the first year was very very cost intensive, very labor intensive. But it was great to be partnered up with the regional partnership because they helped out with so much of the cost the backhauling project did. So now it won't be so bad going forward. But when you're doing bulk and you're selling 5,000 bulbs at a time, 10,000 at a time, you get good at it and you get fast at it. And it was just with the numbers that we had, they both paid too much. We were both over $12 for each time we tried it. So we were still over $12 a pound. So, and again, just like Melissa said about being able to get rid of a lot of it at once. So we'd sit down for a long week and we'd be so much gone, so there was so much less selling in in the long run that takes up so much time the rest of the year. So it's a trade-off, and not all monetarily. Some of it's just in, stress is gone because the garlic is gone. So in somebody else's home.
Well, great. Thanks, both of you. That's all the time we have for this segment, but the two of you will be on the whole time. So afterwards, if people still have questions, stick around and we'll all have the ability to answer all the questions that might pop up. And I'll turn it over to you, Jerry.
Thanks, Greg. Now I was off for a little bit there. So Melissa, when we come back around again with you on the third segment, feel free to just say, we already talked about that if there's, I'll do it. So I am assuming that folks who sign up for a class like this do a little sussing out of the presenters in advance. So I'm not going to give you, if I tried to tell you all the cool things that Keene and Cynthia do with Keene garlic, that would take up to 20 minutes. So I'm going to assume that everybody's a little familiar with them and how they're doing things. I will, if somebody else has the link to their website, don't distract us with it right now, but go ahead and put that in the chat. And then if folks aren't already familiar, they can look at their really cool website. So welcome to Keene and Cynthia Hollenbeck. Did I say the last name right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so in a nutshell, what you do, one part of your business is that you buy garlic from other growers and resell it. And I'd like to focus more on what other growers would need to know if they were selling to what I call an aggregator, such as yourself. But I've got to ask, when did you at what point did you decide that growing all that garlic yourself and selling it yourself wasn't quite enough, that you also wanted to sell other people's garlic?
I think it just happened by circumstance, really. We had a couple seasons under us. We had always sold out of our garlic, probably before it was even out of the ground. And while I'm the one working at the farmer's market, taking the money, Keene's walking around talking to all the other vendors. But what we realized is that we had a lot of customers that were calling for garlic, and we were sold out. But at the same time, Keene's chatting around with everybody while I'm working. He just found that they had a lot of extra garlic. So it just kind of happened like that they're just fellow farmers that needed a source to sell more garlic, to sell their garlic. And then there were a few a number of garlic growers. Many of us get on the phone and we talk, and we actually have ended up with some really close relationships with people. And a lot of them are like, I don't want to sell garlic. I don't want to market it. Can you market it for me? And, and there was a few times when we said, oh, we're not sure if we want to keep doing this. But really it was their push, because they're like, well, what are we going to do without you? So it just kept, it really kept us going. But we love what we do, because we love working with the farmers, and we've maintained great relationships and just met some great people. And it's just been really, I would say, a lot of fun. And I think we make a difference. Another reason why we've continued to do it is we feel we make a difference in the farmers' lives, because they know in the fall, they know what they're planting for us. They tell us what they're planting, and then we know what to expect. They know, that they have a guaranteed sale, and so it works.
Great. Now, I think there's a question on a bunch of people's minds who are watching this right now, and that being, do you have enough growers for next year? Or are you taking on any new growers, or for this year? Taking on any new growers?
We really work closely with people. So like I said, we know in the fall what we're going to need the next year. But through doing this for now, over a decade, what we've noticed is that people come and go because life changes, so we do have a couple of people retiring this year. So we do have room for more. And we also, I think, have room for different varieties, because there's some stuff that just doesn't always grow well for our growers. And we really want our growers to be profitable at what they grow. So there's some farms that grow certain varieties better than others. And so I would say, yes, we're not, if you're interested in selling to us, contact us and let's see if it would be a good partnership. Definitely.
So maybe what I'm hearing is not necessarily for this harvest, but to lay the groundwork for planting in the fall and moving on. Great.
But what we do like to do too is, because quality is really important, we would like to know, what do you have this year? And sometimes it is good to start as a small relationship to get it going, to saying, yeah, this is what we expect. This is how it works. And we're also there to kind of help along, to give advice, to help make things more efficient, stuff like that. So, it doesn't mean no this year. It just means we really like to work closely with people.
Yeah. And that's, I think that's a lot of, I like to call it social enterprise, that we enjoy working with other people, and hey, we get to do that through garlic. What could be better? Yeah. And hopefully we're making some money at it. Now I'm interested, what kind of things, you mentioned the quality thing. What kind of things would your growers need to know in order to sell them to you? Do you do contracts? Do you have written standards for them? Or is it more of a verbal agreement sort of thing?
We do have written standards because, we are selling quality seed stock. And when we are sending product out, it's being shipped, and shipping is very expensive. So if it doesn't make the grade, we can't ship it, and what we need to come to us needs to be at a certain standard. So yeah, we do write up certain standards, and notoriously every year there will be an issue with the farmer for this, or whatever it is. And we try to work with them and say, you know what? Yeah, this might not make the standard, but we're not going to make it so that your guaranteed sale has proofed, right? That's not right either. So we have enough people contacting us to buy garlic that we can usually figure out a way to do something with it, because there's enough processors calling us and people who want seconds. So, that's another thing that we're kind of lucky that we're able to do. But yeah, we do have a set of standards. We don't always do contracts because we've worked with some of our growers long enough that we just don't do one. Right. But if people want one, then we do. But it's everything's really usually always worked out without, we just make things work. So.
Yeah. Well, along those lines with the contract, do you, and this may be a little bit of a sensitive question, do you negotiate pricing individually with each grower, or do you have like a set price range that you say up front, this is what we'll pay?
We do have a set price range, which that we do pay because we do organic and we call it naturally grown because a lot of our growers grow naturally, and although my organic certifier wants to call them conventional, I could never do that to them because they're growing the same way.
Yeah, they're just growing.
Yeah. So we do have a set price. There is an occasion where it may vary from that for whatever reason, but we do just work with a set price because even though we are selling it at a certain price, as a business, our expenses are high. It was really easy when we were selling off the farm. That was simple. But now doing what we're doing, it's really expensive. It's more expensive to sell the garlic the way we do than it is to grow it. And I never would have thought that, but that's just what it's.
That's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that either. You're doing all this handling and quality control and shipping, and whereas I haven't, but I wouldn't rule it out. I might send you 20 pounds of garlic in one shipment. Well, you might send that out in 20 shipments. So yeah, that's quite a bit of extra work.
Yeah. And just a little sidekick that we kind of always say is like every year with what we pay in credit card fees, Keene could buy a new tractor. But that's the business, so it's just the way it goes. So sorry.
That's great. So I also noticed, I'm going to divert a little bit here. And I'm sure people will have other questions later about this whole process of aggregating and all. But I noticed on your website that you also have some value-added products, like you've got organic powder and granulated garlic. I love the one with the grinder right on top of the garlic, like those fancy pepper shakers. Tell me a little bit about that. How did you get into doing these value-added processed products?
Really, part of that stemmed out of the fact that not everything we receive ends up being quality enough to ship out the door. And our profit really was in the stuff that needed to go into the trash. It wasn't quality to ship out the door. It's still good to make into garlic powder, but that was a huge loss. So it really became a matter of the ability to make a profit or else throw something in the trash, because as it's produce, it goes, if it hasn't found a home and it's starting to deteriorate, we have the ability to make it into powder really quick, but we don't necessarily have the ability to say, hey, do you want this garlic that's naturally deteriorating really quick? Can you get it into the ground? Every once in a while, I find a special person who wants that, but not always. So it really became more a matter of that's where the profit was going, is in the garbage. So we needed to stop that.
Yeah, well, that's a great way to do it. And if you have the facilities, the equipment and time to do that, I can see how that, and there are several growers, I think some right here that I'm looking at on the screen who do garlic powder, garlic salts, that sort of thing. Even some folks who do that kind of thing with scapes. And then of course you have someone like Melissa who does the full 9 yards with the Scape Pesto. Then I also, you've also got, it's almost like you're the big box of garlic shopping here. While I've got you in the store, we've got fertilizer and garlic. Okay, tell me a little bit about that. How did you get into selling garlic related items?
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say, well, Purple Cow is our neighbor, and he's been buying garlic from us for probably 12, 15 years. And so we started selling his, he had kind of been talking about it and we've been experimenting with his products. So that just kind of came true. But the other thing is that, we are lucky where we live. We have a really great organic industry, organic farms, and places to buy fertilizer from. The rest of the nation doesn't have that. And there's a good part of the nation that does not have any organic support, where there's a lot of gardeners that want that. So it did also come down to a lot of times us trying to recommend things, and they were just like, don't you have anything that we can buy? So it's not a great big thing, but it really does help our customers, and they're really happy to have that.
Yeah, and I didn't know that until I was, and I've known you for a while now, and was checking out your website, and then it's like, whoa, they're becoming the Menards of garlic here. Well, Greg, do you see any questions on the chat that you might want to bring up? We've got about 5 minutes here just before we switch over.
Let's see. People experimenting with black garlic, people having good experiences working with you. Is there a minimum amount of garlic that you like to buy to make it all worth your while?
Yes. And we don't know exactly what that is, because sometimes we do know that sometimes a farmer has a little less or whatever, but every bit that goes out has a lot number, and there's a lot that it takes to bring it in.
It depends on the varieties too, what type of varieties we have and what we need.
That's true.
So I usually don't worry about the minimum requirements, but we do talk to them,
Yeah. So not really, and
Not
a lot of it is because we're working. Yeah, because we're working with a lot of what we have found is that the best garlic comes from a lot of these people who are just growing a little bit of really high quality garlic, and sometimes they're bringing in these gorgeous bulbs because they put all their effort into it, and it may only be 10 pounds, but I know we have the customers to get it to the right place, so yes, sometimes we do a lot less, but if that is a question that you have for us, just contact us,
Just talk to us.
Any others, Greg?
I don't see any other questions. If anybody has any questions right off the bat here at the moment, feel free to throw them in the chat and we'll make sure they get addressed.
I'd like to go ahead and move on to the next segment 2 minutes early. Look at that. Move on to direct wholesale is what I'm calling it. I'm sure that somebody in business school or a marketing class has the right name for it, but where you're bypassing a distributor or a middleman and going straight to grocery stores or food processors, co-ops, and then Melissa will even give us a rather interesting twist on that in here. So we met Melissa a little while ago with Seven Songs Organic Farm, and I'm also really looking, I always look forward to talking with Melissa. And now I want to define that when I'm talking about processors, I'm talking about someone who is going to take your garlic and use it as an ingredient, as opposed to the customer taking the bulb home. So they're going to mix it in with something else, and who knows, they may or may not give you credit for it. Now, I've also brought in Viktor Vasileiadis, and you can correct me on the pronunciation of your last name.
Great.
Thanks.
Great.
I don't, and I see your new banner behind you there.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I do. That's great. So, and if you want to, Viktor, you can tilt your camera down so that we can see you more now that we've all taken in the banner there. That is nice. So Viktor, he's probably one of the largest operations in Minnesota. Particularly, he will sell between 45 and 50,000
No.
bulbs.
I try to sell this year the 50,000 bulbs.
That's what you're ramping up to this year.
Yeah, this year is 55,000 around there.
And you're working with about 4 acres, right?
Right now it's 4.5 acres. Yeah.
4.5 acres. Now you may have just noticed there's with Viktor, there's a couple of things that he and I have agreed on in advance. First, we have agreed that I'm not going to say the names of his particular corporate customers. We're going to refer to the grocery store chain and to the food processor. And I certainly understand why, and I don't tell Viktor my customers' names either. And then also you may notice that Viktor has a bit of an accent. English is a second language, a heavy accent. Second language for him. I don't speak Greek. But
always time to learn.
I don't think this old dog's going to learn those tricks. But I've had lots of conversations with Viktor. And so I've kind of developed an ear. And so I may do a little interpreting.
Excellent.
Okay. All right. So let's launch into these questions there now that we got that out of the way. So first off, both of you have buyers who they themselves are selling your bulbs whole. They're not using them as ingredients or anything. They're going to, the end customer is going to buy whole garlic bulbs. So what kinds of, without saying the names of them, what kinds of direct to customer outlets, and Melissa, you can say the names if you want, are you selling to? Who are you selling whole bulbs to that we haven't heard about in the first segment? Start with Melissa.
So yeah, I just will say who it is. So last year I sold to the Good Acre, and they're kind of a hub, a food hub in a way. They have a commercial kitchen where a number of different small businesses work, but I was selling to their CSA. So what they're doing is they're buying, they might buy a bunch of tomatoes from someone else, a bunch of garlic from me, a bunch of lettuce from someone else, and they're pulling it all together into one big CSA. I don't really know how many CSA shares they have, but maybe Greg knows. I don't know. Maybe they have 500 or 300 or something. Pretty big. They're really near the St. Paul campus of the U of M, or almost on it. And so a lot of students, a lot of professors, a lot of people working at the U, I think, enjoy those CSA shares.
Okay, I thought you were selling to another CSA as well. Am I mistaken?
That was last year. So this coming year, I'll be selling to TC Farms, and they're a group that mostly has bought meat, or they're and then they distribute meat. They also used to grow their own meat, but now they're more distributors. Especially like animal welfare approved products, but they're branching into other foods. So they wanted me to grow ginger and garlic for them, and I already have them on contract for next fall. So I think they're buying 400 or 500 pounds of garlic from me next fall. And I just sell garlic in like a onion bag with a nice tag on it.
Okay, I'm going to ask you more about packaging and,
Yeah.
and delivery here in a moment. Victor, so what kind of a customer is it that you're selling that is reselling it as whole bulbs?
I got the company that needs it bulk, like about 400 pounds.
How often do they need 400 pounds?
Once in a year.
Oh, okay, but it's spread out over.
Just once in a year they buy it and they use it for their processing that they do there.
Oh, okay. We're going to talk about processing in a minute.
Oh, you're talking about the grocery stores, or?
Yeah.
The grocery stores I get in this year after a lot work. I mean, meetings and talking, and the biggest concern of the grocery stores is the quality, of course, but the quantity too, because if you have, for example, 1,000 pounds and that lasts for a month or two, what are they going to sell after that? So they care about the quantity, and of course I make them sure that make them clear that the garlic is going to last about 6-7 months in itself, since September, August, whatever. But after that, we don't have any garlic. I mean, dry garlic, because it's a seasonal product. So after we decide what is the right for their and for their customers, first time I get on the big chain, not very big, but big for Minnesota, and I supply them twice. One was before Thanksgiving, and the second time was a week ago. And some of the stores they want extra orders than the usual, and that's great. The thing is, the season is almost done, almost over. I have some leftovers of garlic. I'm not going to sell it because they start have some roots, and some of those they sprout the green pig. So I'm going to keep it, or I can sell it to Keene, make it season. Why
Right.
not? Yeah.
Well, we made a connection right there. That was worth
Yes,
the whole class.
Everything's opportunity. Yeah.
Well, and you bring up an important thing when the whole idea, and I'm going off script here, just so my two presenters know that. If you're selling wholesale to like grocery stores, they don't want to switch buyers, people they're buying from. They like to set up an agreement and then keep buying from that person. Otherwise, they just go back to buying it off the truck from China.
Yeah, the good thing is not more people like us, like Keene, like me, like Melissa, and I have buy from Keene, very good garlic. I have buying from Melissa, of course, of you, and there are not so many people out there. And what do we compete right now? We compete Argentina, we compete Mexico, we compete California. We can't compete each other because everybody has their customers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the real competition is with the people, with the farmers that they are out of United States, mm-hmm. or far away from Minnesota, California. Right. Okay, so I think this is a room here, is a room for us if we have the right price, not be so crazy, lots of money for a pound or for whatever, how everybody sell it. Some people they sell it with ounce. I don't know. If it's the right price, everybody want it.
Mhm.
And today I have a meeting with another big grocery store here in Minnesota, and we're gonna start September. I sample. I bring sample with me. They saw the garlic, but they are huge. I can start right now. I can start September probably.
So
If
after.
everything goes okay with the weather, if
Yeah.
the garlic goes great, we don't have weeds, we don't have rain, all those things that
Yep.
affect.
Well, so you're talking with another grocery store chain.
Yes,
about-
today. They are today.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. So you're both selling whole fresh bulbs to these, Melissa to a CSA, Victor to grocery stores. And Melissa, you mentioned you had a contract with TC Farm. Victor, what does the agreement look like with a grocery store chain? Do they want it on paper?
The only thing that I do, I just sign a paper and give them my tax ID, because I have like everyone probably LLC company.
Mhm.
And we don't sign anything because it's like, for example, if I don't have if I have signed a contract with 10,000 pounds and I don't have it, how can I find it?
Right.
You know,
Well,
it's, everything depends on the weather.
Yeah,
If-
that's when you go over to Keene Garlic and ask them for more. No,
Exactly. Yeah, it's a good idea. Why not?
It
But
is.
I mean, if they sold out, what am I gonna do?
That's
If they
right.
sold out,
Then you're
Well,
and
what
they don't ask me. They don't ask me. I'm not blaming Melissa. Melissa's doing very well. I saw her farm is an amazing farm, and they do the best pesto. I try it, and I still have a little bit in my freezer. Yeah, they do a very good job, and I'm not blaming nobody. But they don't ask me. They don't ask me for a contract, so I don't ask either.
great.
You know?
Yeah, and if it works, it works. And
Yeah.
that reduces your risk. Because some people will say, well, no, you promised me 10,000 garlic and you're not delivering it. Well, we're going to have to fine you for that.
So with the one of the processors that you call them, the company that they buy the garlic as can make it ingredient. We have an agreement, but the agreement says between us, hey, if it's something happen, and you just bring me evidence like, okay, you have a hell or we have something float or whatever.
Mhm.
I have to bring him in my field, and he sees the field is a disaster, something happened, and everything okay. But still, it's not contract that is very tight contract. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
like something loose, something between people, between human.
Mhm.
the contract I work under, it has a little thing that says, as soon as there's some kind of problem that I notice, I contact the people I'm in agreement with right away and just say, there's been hail, or there's been grasshoppers, or there's been something,
Yeah.
They just want to know as soon as possible so they can make other plans. And that's only respectful, of course. So my contract has that in there. And I think that's an out for everybody, but it still
Good
helps
advice.
to work it out, and to have it written down, because we all forget what we agree to. I forget as well as anybody else.
Well, sometimes the agreement is just an email.
Yeah.
I've done plenty of sales that way, where just agree on an email, and I have never been ripped off by anybody, and I hope I've never ripped anybody else off. So, Victor, selling to this grocery store chain, do they want it in loose bulbs or packaged? We heard Les talk about that. How do they want it?
They want both, and I think the package is the best idea, because you see what you sell, okay, and this is a garlic from Victor or from Greg or from Keene or from Melissa. It's like identity garlic.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the best way. If we sell bulk, is a good, like Mr. Les Olson says before, less labor and less more profit, but nobody knows where's my garlic.
Right.
They eat something that is like a no name garlic. It's a possibility too, But I can sell if somebody come to my business, say, you know what, I need 1,000 pounds, but I need it bulk. I can sell it. But I think we can do both. We can do both.
Mhm.
Like we can give identity to our garlic, and of course we can. I'm not going to say Minnesota because we have Keene, which from Wisconsin. We can say Midwest garlic. We can name it, and we can have a best brand,
Sure.
assuming like the best Midwest garlic. Why
Yep.
not?
And we've been playing with the idea of premium Minnesota garlic, or it
Yeah,
could be
or Midwest or
premium.
or
Something to
Wisconsin.
distinguish it from the California, Chinese, et cetera, all those other growers that you mentioned. Now, Melissa, when you're going to be selling this to TC Farm, do they just want it in onion bags and they sort it out, or what are you doing?
That's my understanding, is that they're going to put a couple bulbs in each, or, people are going to order from them through a computer-based ordering system, and that they're going to,
Mhm.
so I think their CSA is a little more like you order what you want. I'm not quite sure.
Right. So it's somewhere
They
between a
wanted
CSA.
garlic. Yeah, they wanted garlic this last year, and I was all sold out. And so they got agitated and hooked me up for next year really
That's right.
quick.
Well, I think we're going to be seeing more and more of that. These contracts happening a year in advance.
Yeah.
I seem to open up sales earlier and earlier every year. I don't ever want to get to the point where I'm selling a 2 years down the line crop, but
No.
I'm going to retire one of these days. Okay, so now let's talk about, we've got a few more minutes here. Let's talk about the processor. Both of you sell to a processor who is taking your garlic and making it as an ingredient. Now, are you, Victor, are you selling to your processor? Are you giving them whole bulbs, or are you having to peel it for them, or what?
No, I give them whole bulbs. They peel it. They do a very good job. They're good partners. No complaints so far. I mean, from that's their side and my side, we're doing very well.
And they both want specifically organic, right?
Yeah, organic.
Yeah.
Not music or producer or whatever. Not I mean, not any variety, but they want an organic.
That's more important too than one variety. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see that with ingredients. Melissa, what about that with your who you're selling to?
Yeah, so I sell to You Betcha Kimchi, both ginger and garlic. And early on, they were doing a lot of hand peeling of garlic, and they bought a garlic peeler, and I think it cost them $600. And they were like,
"Oh, geez,
that's the best $600 we ever spent." So they put it through their garlic peeler, but even despite that, they still want the bigger cloves. So I'm selling them. I'm selling them music, Italian late, German extra hearty, Romanian red, those things with bigger cloves. And I sell them after I pick out my seed. The next stuff goes to You Betcha Kimchi. And that's in part because we've had a long-term relationship now for a number of years and we're good friends. And I try to sell them my best stuff. And then I feel like people who are peeling in their own kitchen can handle the little bit smaller stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, I'm selling all the way down to 1 3/4 size. Mm-hmm. I size all my garlic like right when I harvest it. Like I have a big party and the sizing takes longer than the harvesting. It's really quite a project. I question it every year, but I still do it. But and I sometimes go down to like 1.5 inch size if they have big cloves. Sometimes you get those things that are like 2 big cloves, but they're still really skinny. So those are still easy to peel cloves. And so sometimes for like TC Farms, I'll go smaller.
Mm-hmm. And okay, so both of you can, and I've got 3 minutes here till we're going to go into this open Q&A and call it happy hour or something. Is either one of you comfortable talking about your pricing?
No problem.
Yeah, no problem. Go ahead, Victor.
I have prices from 720 over to 1355.
So that's a pretty $7.20 to $13.55.
Yeah.
That's a pretty broad price range.
This is nice, yeah.
So, well, okay. I don't want to push you too hard
No,
on
no,
that.
no. Just I can answer the questions.
Well, so who would you be selling to at $7.50?
The bulk is going to be cheapest
Okay,
because it's not labor. It's not large labor. It's like
gotcha.
okay.
So
So
if
we
you
have
do
to be
packaging-
honest. Yeah, we have to be honest with our customers. And if it's packaging, you have to put some more money there because
Mhm.
it's the card hard, the net, the labor,
Mhm.
the tie up,
I know.
distribution, all those things. And still, I think we need to charge a little bit more
Mhm.
to make
Oh,
some
yeah.
money. I
I
think
agree.
we have to charge a little bit more on this because like I do this 4 hours distribution. I start 6 o'clock and I finish 10:30. The 30 minutes I count like a break. So
So that's to
Close-
get to those stores.
the stores, yeah, it's a 4 hours distribution. I make about 165 miles in the metro area,
Wow.
from Woodbury to Excelsior.
Wow.
So,
So
yeah,
and there's a bunch of people trying to guess what stores this is, but we're not going to say. So, Melissa, well, I'm having fun with that. So,
I'll just, I gotta
Melissa,
tell-
are you comfortable talking about pricing?
yeah, I just want to tell a short story about that. So I was at $8 a pound when I was selling to this restaurant, and then they dropped me. And then I was still at $8 a pound with You Betcha Kimchi, but they were only buying 100 pounds a year. And then I was with the Good Acre, and they said, well, we don't pay over 7. And I really wanted to be with the Good Acre because they were going to buy like 300 or 400 pounds, which was great. So then I went back to You Betcha Kimchi. I said, well, what if it dropped to 7? He said, well, then we'd buy 300 pounds instead of 100 pounds. And I didn't, he didn't approach me. He didn't offer that, but I did that.
Huh.
And it was really eye-opening to me that $1 a pound, which is a big deal, but it's $1 a pound. Suddenly everything was sold out. And so price does make a difference. I am now trying to, creep that back up again. But it's really great to not put garlic in the compost pile. That just killed me the other year, anyway, so I don't like doing that. So I'd rather actually sell it. And what I do is I do not clean it super carefully. So of course I cut off the roots. I cut off the top. I make it so there's not a big clod on there. They're not paying for a big clod of dirt, but I am not doing super careful cleaning like I used to do. Because remember, it's just going into kimchi. Doesn't need to be cleaned carefully before it goes into kimchi.
So you're saying a little dirt adds flavor to the kimchi? Is that what you're?
No, I'm not saying that. They're careful with their process. I'm
I
just
know
saying,
it becomes their problem.
yes, and we agreed on that. I said, even for the ginger, I said, it's not going to be cleaned perfectly for a lower price. And they said, fine. So you can talk to people about that. You can say, yeah, I can't spend as much labor. So where can you give? Just to see where you can meet part way. So.
Okay. Well, that. I appreciate you sharing that. I always like to respect people who are not necessarily wanting to reveal their pricing. Now, those of us who sell direct to customers.
Don't undercut me, people. That's all I can say.
Greg, let's go to happy hour here and see if we've got. I have a few extra questions. If y'all don't speak up, you have to listen to me some more. So.
Well, there's a small stream of questions, and I know there'll be more as people start answering questions. So we've got some happy houring to do. If I've got a question though, if you don't mind, let's see. I think that everybody who's been talking has the ability to jump in on happy hour questions. But there's one thing for those of you growing garlic. Is there anything you've been able to do in your production that's lowered your cost of production? So anything like in terms of equipment, processing equipment, harvesting equipment, planters, anything that's really that you've been able to scale up. So if you're doing, an acre or more as opposed to like the 1/8 of an acre or whatever, there anything that you've been able to use that actually drops your cost of production so that when you sell for $7 a pound instead of $8 a pound, and you mentioned cleaning, so I know that's a particularly poignant one, but is there anything else out there that you can do to drop your production costs so that you can afford to do larger volume?
Well, something that we did that just right off the start is we figured out over the years how close we could plant the bulbs and still keep the size up and still keep the quality up. And so we're planting about 40,000 at less than an acre, at less than 1 acre right now. And we're still able to get the good size. And that really made a difference. And it's just taken now the second time around, just the early cleaning has cut down, or the early weeding has cut down. If we get the weeds when they're young, then the weeding part gets dropped so far down. So
Yeah.
big difference.
Thanks, Melissa.
So I found that in the fall, not this fall, but other falls, that the window for planting seemed to be getting narrower and narrower, like it was so wet in the fall. Like, how could you get in there to till without injuring your soil? So, and also I was tired of getting on my knees for weekend after weekend on end. So I did buy a garlic planter, the Garlic EEZ. It's out of Dunkirk, Ontario. And I don't even own a tractor. I rent it so that I can use this garlic planter once a year. But I find that just sitting on my butt planting garlic is a lot easier than being on my knees for hours on end. So, and I just get a lot of friends to come out and help, and they seem to enjoy it. And, you know, it used to take me maybe 3 or 4 weekends, and now it takes a day and a half. And it's just, for quality of life and for all the other stuff I have to do in the fall, it made my life a lot better. So.
And what's the name of that planter? What's it called?
It's called the Garlic EEZ.
Would you put that in the chat, Melissa?
Sure.
Okay, so Keene, Cindy, production method that saves you money so that you can control your price a little better.
It's the carrying. We do it in crates instead of hanging. And the other thing, what we did is I designed a garlic planter that I come up with, and I did. It's similar to some other garlic planters, but the biggest thing is in our carrying process. And it saved us a lot of time in carrying in. And when we picked it out of the ground, we cleaned it right away. And it saved a lot of time cleaning it at the end.
Boy, I think you've just put a big suitcase in front of us that would take a while to unpack on all of that. I've got about 15 questions. And you know, I think maybe some of us would just love to come and help you with harvest and figure out, watch how you do that. You might not let us, but so in crates, and are you still doing airflow and dehumidifying and that sort of thing?
Yeah, we put it in an air controlled, air conditioning controlled, environmentally controlled area where we have air flowing all through the time, and it'll carry it down quicker.
And so these are, you've already clipped roots, tops.
Clip the roots, clip the tops, and put them in the crates.
And did
like
you
the
also
bulb crates, the black bulb crates?
Yeah, we kind of have a system at harvest. During harvest, we get a lot more people out, and we just kind of run right through a process where we clean the bulbs, clip off the leaves. They fall into the, really gently fall into the bulb crate. And then we, everything's labeled. And then it goes into an air conditioned facility with a gazillion fans. So, you know, we were always told not to do that, but really that you can cure an acre of garlic in a 1.5 car garage doing that, and no mold issues. And we're not going back and cleaning Embelsia off the garlic later, which a lot of us deal with on porcelains in our region.
Yeah, Embelsia is a big problem, and that's amazing that if you're not seeing that in garlic that's packed together in crates. Well, Victor, have you done any particular different production methods that is helping you to keep your price down some?
Yeah, I'm starting with 1 row poking with 6. Poke after
So you do,
then then I go to the 5 rows. Then I decide the third year to make a roller, and I said, okay, I have to buy a planter. So I buy excuse me, I buy the planter from China, which is 6 rows planter. The thing is, now I'm trying to see how the garlic is gonna grow. Last year it grows, and the side, instead of being like this, it was like this, but still growing round, no problems. So this year I planted the most garlic. Like about 45,000 with a planter, another 10,000 by hand. You see the difference. And I'm talking with some company over in Canada for harvesting machine, because I pulled 26,000 this year by hand by himself. It took yeah, it took me about a week and a half.
Oh,
A lot of work. 6 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon, and after I go to my other job. But it's too much work. It's too much work, and I think the equipment is going to make the difference.
okay. So even though that planter cost, I don't know, a few thousand.
My planter cost $3,500, and the
that's
most
amazing.
money was in for the shipping,
Wow.
because the planter cost about $800, but the shipping costs a lot of money. It comes from China to California, and from California here, and probably a lot of people make money between this distance.
Yeah.
So, anyways, it was a great. We have some problems, because it probably was built for the small golov garlics, and we have big ones. So I'm improving with my technician over in Afton, and we can do it better this year. I mean the 2020 planting season. We face some problems, like the tubes, they clog sometimes, and we have come here and there some issues, but in general, the 80-85% was great.
Great.
And and I planted 16 hours, 4.5 acres. 16 hours. Day and a half.
Right.
Not even day.
Right. Greg, what else we got?
Talking about sizing. So after sharing your price per pound, are your different size garlic heads then not priced? Are your different sizes of garlic priced differently?
I'll just say that I did sell some seed garlic this year, and that I sold for $225 a head. So I saw that I had some really nice size, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna get some money off those good sized ones. So yeah, so that's one way, is like if you're really selling it for seed, people really willing to pay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Does anybody else have a differentiation in a price based on the size? No. I do a little bit, in that I will cut a little break for what I call culinary garlic, which means small. And then the big stuff, yeah, I'm going to get a premium for it, because, What else, Greg?
So it's a question for Les, I think. How far apart are the cloves you're planting? So it sounds like you're able to bring your cloves closer together, boost it up, but how far apart are your cloves?
Well, we plant in groups of 5 rows at a time, and the rows are 8 inches apart. And then there's 6 inches between plants in the row themselves. So 8 inches between the rows and 6 inches in the row between the plants. And then we have about a 16-inch walkway in between each group of 5 for weeding and walking.
All right, and there's some chatter in the chat here about garlic hole drills, and I think we've talked a little bit about that, but if anybody has anything else to add about innovative garlic hole drills, you could do that.
Ooh, maybe we need to, I know what a hole is and I know what a planting drill is, but I'm not sure I know what a hole drill is. Is this, are we talking about a dibble wheel maybe? Or
Yep,
something?
someone has built one out of a box, I think, that you can stand in or step in, and it pushes the holes in the ground, and then there's the wheel.
Right. Yeah, that's,
barrel type.
even though it sounds naughty, it's called a dibble. Yeah, so with Victor and Melissa, with your planters, you don't need that, right?
I got sorry, Melissa, you want to talk before me? I can wait.
I was just gonna say that, yeah, mine has just, has a wheel with spikes on it. And there are 4 wheels with spikes, and so they make 4 rows. And then a person sits on a seat behind where those spikes go in and puts the garlic in. So mine still involves 2 humans and a human driving the tractor. It's not just automatically all going in there.
Mhm.
It's just a lot easier than being on your knees. But yeah, it has dibbles kind of built in.
Yeah, in the planter itself.
Yeah.
Keene, do you have do you use a planter or any kind of dibble and hand plant, or how do you do that?
Yeah, the one I have is I use a transplanter. I do the same thing. It does the dibble for you, then you just hand plant it right behind. So you'd be just like the garlic planter you got there, Melissa's got. It just puts it in, makes a divot, and you just put the garlic in behind it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's called the water wheel.
Yeah, it's a water wheel.
Water wheel planter, yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty easy and it's pretty inexpensive to get, and it's pretty easy to set up for everybody. That's why I recommend a lot of people.
One thing that I've always thought about that is I could never do it by myself.
Yeah, you can't. You got to at least have 3 or 4 people at a time.
So
One
Les,
driving, one at-
what do you do dibbling?
Yes, we did the dibbling. We built one probably 7 or 8 years ago. And now this year we built a planter, and it worked real good in the field that's the sandy soil. And there they did about, planted about 12,000 cloves in about 4 hours. So that was 2 people that we made that, and it fits on the front of a quick attach, so it fits on the Bobcat. And so it's really easy for the driver to see what's going on. And then we just had 2 people sitting on the seat feeding garlic in. So, and but it's a long ways for production yet. So, but it's a start.
So another clarifying question from Melissa. Were you saying you sell your garlic, the seed garlic, I think, for $25 a bulb or per pound?
I was selling the seed garlic for $2.50 a bulb.
A bulb.
Yeah. Not
That's much. Yeah. Okay.
We're going to talk
That would be
about,
some good
That's
money, though,
clarification.
wouldn't it?
Yeah, I know.
well, we're going to talk
Couple, right?
we're going to talk about that next week with the difference between selling by the pound and by the bulb with the direct marketing.
Yeah, when I used to sell at farmers market, I also sold by the bulb, and I sold for $2 a bulb. But then I upped it this year for seed. My seed looks so beautiful this year. I was just like, and time has passed, so people should pay more.
Yep.
I'm also farming full time and trying to make a living doing it right now, which I wasn't before. So it's important to me. Someone just asked if people sell online. Keene Garlic sells online. That's a lot of how they sell, I think. So they have a great website. People should check it out.
Yeah, and it is. I really admire the look of your website and the effectiveness of it, Keene, Cindy. And we are going to talk about online sales next week. And I'm assuming people could do online wholesale, set up a website so that grocery stores could come to them and order bulk garlic or packaged garlic. But I don't know if I know of anybody that's doing that specifically. Anybody in the how many people here? 20, 34 people here doing any kind of online wholesale?
Jason here from Tamrat Garlic Farm in Trempealeau, Wisconsin. It's none of the actual transactions are going through the website for wholesale, but a lot of this conversation starts with them coming to the website with that presence, and we'll start the conversation through the website presence, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I have that same experience myself, Jason, where even though I do direct sales online, I still get people coming and saying, well, we want to buy, 100 pounds, whatever.
The question I had for Viktor and Keene and Cindy, in terms of kind of off topic at this point, with doing larger amounts of garlic, what are you guys currently doing for mulching your crops right now? Are you using straw? Are you using plastic at this point? What methods are you using?
Viktor, do you want to answer about mulching first?
Yeah, no problem. I'm using a straw. Straw, and this year I spread 90 straw balls, the big ones, 90 of those. So of course with the help of machinery.
Sure.
Otherwise, I will be the muscle guy.
Yeah,
we're doing the same thing. We're doing straw as well. We're doing straw and we're spreading the straw by hand now too.
Well, no, I think Viktor, you're using one of the blowers, right?
Machinery, yeah, just machinery, because it's 90 straw balls. It's like I rent that machinery that they feed the cows. So
right, yeah.
Through them all night.
What's it called, Viktor? The name of that machine?
Hawk, something like this. I'm not sure. I have the picture. I have some video.
We rented one once and it was a disaster, so I'm just curious.
No, this is the thing. If you, I don't know how to use it in the beginning. So a friend of mine who helped me is a big farmer from Wisconsin. He showed me how to do it, and it's amazing. If it doesn't blow air, if it's not wind, it's amazing. Like you can cover evenly, and very, very great. Something happened here. Okay.
Did you use round bales, Viktor?
Round bales, yeah, round bales.
Okay. Interesting.
Well, and I am seeing more and more people using plastic mulch now. There's a grower near me that does about 1/4 of an acre. He's a very large vegetable grower, and that's how he does everything.
Sure.
Steve Long, I think he used plastic.
Yeah.
Yep. Steve's using it. I guess. Yeah. I jumped ship and I put plastic on the rows. I put straw in between the rows this year, just kind of see how that goes. I guess.
But if you go with a blender, if you plant with a blender, I mean, you can use plastic, because if you plant, how are you going to cover with plastic? It's a big question.
Yeah, I use it. Yeah, just the water wheel transplanter. It's just
okay, yeah. If you buy by hand
with the holes and stuff, it pokes the holes in for us. And I just for me, I guess it's been so wet in western Wisconsin here. The last 4 or 5 years, just in October, and I kind of we were literally mucking garlic in the fall of 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. I'm like, there's got to be a better way. So I was able to make my bed. I made my beds up this year. They were all made and covered in plastic. It was probably the first week of September. I had everything set to go for when conditions were right.
Oh.
I guess, look, in hindsight, the weather was, we had a good fall this year for getting garlic in compared to the last few years. I'm just, my original plan was just to do, probably half plastic, half the conventional way I had been doing things, but I was really impressed with how easy it was to lay that plastic down. And if that keeps the weeds away, I'll keep doing that again, I guess.
And I
Nice.
assume you're putting drip tape under the plastic.
Actually, we did not. We put down, it was a white plastic with black underneath. We have a heavier soil. My theory and research, talking to other growers in other parts of the U.S., as far as putting the straw in between the rows right now for holding water. I guess I'm able to run up and down the rows with water tanks if needed. I do have access to about 10,000 linear feet of soaker hose too, where I could pump and supplement the water if I ever needed to. But I've never had to water a garlic plant, yet. So we'll see what happens.
Greg, anything else in the chat?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. Let's see if I can get in my place here. A question about a bulb breaker machine, and there was a response when someone wants to know if anybody uses a bulb breaker machine to save time. Someone responds, Dragonfly Bay Garlic uses a bulb breaker machine at planting to save times. It cut our planting time into a quarter of what it took us last year. If anybody has, where did you get it is the follow-up question. So anyone knows where to get a bulb breaker machine?
Sure.
Speak up.
Yeah, Jason here again. I guess I'm going to be distributing Steve Long's Long garlic peeler starting probably this spring. If you're interested in a garlic cracking machine, we're looking at a price point right around $900 for a good garlic cracking machine. If you want some more information about that, you can email me at tamarackgarlicfarm@gmail.com, or you can just email Steve Long directly, and we can get you some more information.
Jason, why don't you put that in the chat real quick?
Sure.
Put your contact in there. Yeah, and I have no qualms whatsoever about people who have gadgets and items to sell on this stuff. If it helps all of us do it, then self-promote like crazy. Go for it. Go ahead, Craig.
So there's a few maybe I missed here. Or no, they're in the order. How do you save time and effort at harvest? Remove the leaves and clip the roots before drying is a question. I think that's what someone had mentioned. If anybody wants to re-clarify.
What's the question again?
How do you save time and effort at harvest? And if anybody talked about removing the leaves and clipping the roots before drying, if that's what you do, maybe is there any special way you do it?
Yeah, it's a way you can do it. But if you remove the molds, that's what you mean. Remove the molds and go faster. If it's wet, it doesn't want to remove anything. It comes very easy. You can pull them up the garlic, and it's come very easy.
Yeah, and I think, Victor, they're asking about at harvest actually clipping the roots and the stalks at harvest.
Oh, at harvest. Okay.
Yeah.
I do get it. Sorry about this.
That's all right. No, and Victor and I have had a conversation already about how he actually removes mulch before harvesting.
Oh, okay.
Another class. We'll do another class on that one. And I want to do a whole other class and some research on curing and storage. But the commercial garlic growers, the commodity growers, the roots and stalks are cut in the field. And of course, there's questions about whether or not that would make a premium garlic product with the curing and all. But gosh, that's probably also another class.
Yeah, I guess from my experiences, crew, I guess I moved facilities from curing it in an old hayloft of a dairy barn, of an old horse barn to a conventional gable style barn now. And I guess we racked our garlic for several years, hanging it, going to the hayloft of this other barn. It's a 60-foot ceiling, and there's no way I could make that grid structure for hanging the garlic how we've done things in the past.
Mhm.
And I guess we changed up from hanging garlic to making a rack system.
Mhm.
And I guess we clip our garlic tops down to about 8 to 9 inches at time. I guess I still like pulling the full plant out of the ground. I guess I've been places where where we'll mow the tops off and then pull. I think it's just we harvest more efficiently, pulling that full plant.
Right.
I do have a chopping machine where I can put 6 to 8 garlic plants through a pneumatic Fisker shears to remove the stems down down to 8 inches at a time, and I'll have a crew in the barn to rack things. I guess our experience, in terms of wanting to harvest the middle of July and to get off to our garlic festival the first or second weekend in August, it's such a quick turnaround.
Mhm.
And
It is.
I'm trying to, I need to get out my 300 or so pre-orders that people that have
Mhm.
ordered prior to taking anything out of the ground, so I don't double sell that
Yep.
at a garlic festival. By removing those the stems down to an 8-inch stem and racking it, I really think it does shorten that curing the curing down probably 6 to 8 days on average. I can get everything done
Yeah.
about a week ahead of time, which is huge, getting ready for garlic festival season.
Well, we're going to have Jason on the next class after the next
We
course
are.
after this. Yeah, you just agreed, right?
I guess.
So you have to be careful when you're offering information, because to me that sounds like volunteering. So we're at our end time for today. What we like to do, Greg, if this is still okay with you, we're going to let this just run a little bit, so that if you need to get back through the chat and pick up some things, plus seeing the screen with the contact information here, and so we're going to call the class officially over, and then it's kind of like you're stepping out into the hallway and talking after class with the chat. So thank you very much, Melissa, Victor, Keene, Cindy.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and Les. Victor said to me the other day, well, I hope I learn a bunch of stuff. And
Oh yeah,
we
I learned a
learn
lot.
from them. And
Yes.
that's why I do this, so that I can steal all of your great ideas. So we'll call it a night at that. And I'm going to sign off and enjoy the rest of this glass of wine. And I look forward to hearing from y'all and seeing you next week.
Cheers.
Cheers.